Yeah, and just a quick correction, Jaden Hibbert's worst effort today at the Diamond League meet was 17.02 meters. So he had 17.02, 17.07, he had a 17.23, 17.53 and a 17.66. We are sticking with track and field, but of a slightly different variety. Sprinting in Jamaica, particularly women's sprinting, is currently going through what many would call a golden generation. Since 2004, the country has produced world and Olympic champions with regularity. The likes of Shelley and Fraser Price, Elaine Thompson-Hera, Veronica Campbell-Brown, Sharika Jackson and many others have been flying the flag high. But what must not be forgotten are the trailblazers who paved the way before these women. Many know Merlene Ottey, the English-speaking Caribbean's first Olympic female sprint medalist in 1980. But even before Merlene, we had the likes of Cynthia Thompson, Una Morris-Chung, Marilyn Newville and Rosie Allwood Morrison. Desmond Palmer has done his best to make sure women like these are not forgotten through his book 4Runners, which celebrates Jamaica's fastest female Olympians from the 40s to the 70s. We welcome Desmond, who joins us in studio. Desmond Palmer, welcome to the Sports Mag Zone. It is a pleasure to have you here. How are you doing, first of all?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing well. Happy to be back in Jamaica, right?
That's amazing. First of all, talk to us about this book. What inspired it?
Well, it goes back to my childhood, like teenage years, when I used to hear all the commentary about these runners. I never heard about Cynthia Thompson, but Una Morris and Rosie Allwood and Marilyn Newville. And I used to get very excited about hearing it. And then in later years now, I said, you know, I want to write a book, but I didn't think I had the stick-to-itiveness to write like a novel or something like that, right? So, okay, so let me pick something that nobody else is writing about. So I chose women in track and field. But the whole thing about women is too wide, right? So, and my English teacher always say, if you go in an essay exam and you see, if you see one-word topics like birds or migration, just pick a part of it and do it because it's going to be too wide. So that's what I did. Yes. So I said, okay, one or more would either equal a world record or establish a world record or reach an Olympic final, but none had ever gotten an Olympic medal. And then I went to my barber in Brooklyn and I was talking to him about, and he says, oh, I know Rosie Allwood. And then I got the interview there and it started from there. So it's like going back, looking back at what happened and keep these people in mind, because I don't think we should speak about, you know, track and field if we don't know about what happened before, because they set the pace early. You know.
What else is significant about this book outside of the fact that we are speaking about Jamaican female Olympians from the 40s to the 70s that many individuals in this generation might not have heard about?
Well, they might not have heard about how the struggles they had, right? How much they ran with the drug people, you know, the drug-infested years. What happened? They're normal people like anybody else. They had families, they had struggles. They use it to get their education and to set themselves up, you know, better station in life, you know. One, as you see, two became a doctor, one became a nurse, one became a social worker. So, and they also, I don't think they know how much they ran for the love of it. There was no money, no endorsement. They just ran for the glory of, you know, the country and for themselves. So,
And one important thing that struck me about the book as well was that you interviewed every single athlete you speak about in the book, well, all four women. So a lot of it is from their perspective.
Yes, that I must give credit to my wife for that, because when I decided that I was going to do it, I mentioned it to her and she says, yes, good idea. Everybody is doing a website, because I have a website. She says, everybody is doing, write the book and let the women tell their stories. Yes. And that is why I wrote it like that. Yeah. You know, I did the background work and then let them talk. And it's funny because I sent the manuscript to two friends, one in Canada and one in Mexico, and they said, oh, you know, I felt like I was talking to my grandmother. And that is what I wanted.
Yeah, you just mentioned that you were excited growing up as a teenager by the performance of some of these women. and you mentioned that you would have known about Una Morrison
Yeah.
and some of the earlier ones, who would have been inspirational to Rosie Allwood Morrison.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Which I'm sure she told you about.
Oh
that.
yes, definitely. Because Rosie talked about when she started in class 4, when she came to the stadium, she met Cynthia Thompson. Cynthia Thompson called and spoke to her, so you know everything tied in. Yeah. And then when I started the Gleaner, back in the 70s. They had this book. There was a book in the reference library about track and field going back from champs. And I used to sneak in there every day, like when I got a break, just to read it. So I was very excited about it, right? As a kid, I used to clip, clippings from the Gleaner stories and pictures about track and field.
Yeah.
You know,
Rosie Allwood Morrison was actually my first life insurance agent.
Yeah.
She sold me a policy when I was in my early 20s and just started working, so I remember her very well. And I think I'm fascinated by the point that you made by saying that these women didn't have the income and the sort of endorsements and ability to earn in the way that these are now. How much inspiration do you think our current day athletes will take from them? Because that is a huge story, to be committing so much time of your life to training and hard work without the commensurate financial rewards.
That's why I put it in writing,
yes.
Because I know that Jamaican athletes have a thing about the pride. They're, oh, I'm Jamaican, you can't, you're not supposed to beat me. I've heard it on the Carrift. Was it Carrift or on one of them?
Carrift would be one,
yes.
Yeah.
And one somebody, oh, we're Jamaicans, what do you expect? So I think if they read it, that's why I put it in writing. I want them to sit and marinate it, let it sink in. And I think they will take inspiration, because I think inadvertently they're now taking inspiration from somebody before them. So
yes.
Yeah.
it's not an issue.
I was especially interested in the Marilyn Newville story, partly because we're talking about a super 17-year-old who had won a Commonwealth gold medal, who had broken the world record, who had won a world indoor title for Great Britain, and then decided that she wanted to represent Jamaica. But then she never got to the Olympics until she was 24 years old.
Yeah.
So there was a 7-year gap between being a world record holder and competing on the Olympic stage. And she never ever delivered on the Olympic stage like the way many would have expected, given her exploits as a 17-year-old. How much of that does she speak about in this book?
She didn't talk about it a lot. She mentioned injury. So, she is not the type of person to dwell on things, right? But it was injury was in the forefront with that. It affected her, yeah. And then even when she decided she wasn't going to run anymore, it was injury, because she got there and she had a massive injury in, I think it's California, where she ripped her Achilles tendon, ripped it right off. Running the 800, and then I think it was the coach have her running too much 800, like she was pounding the ground too much, and it affected her. So
did she speak extensively about her reasons for switching allegiance from Britain to Jamaica?
Basically, her heart was in Jamaica. She didn't want to leave it. She went with her parents, right? So she was very strong-headed, for lack of a better word. She decided and her father said, Marilyn, are you comfortable with the decision you're making? And she said yes. She was willing to take them on and to do whatever she wanted to do, so she did it.
Yeah, Desmond Palmer, fabulous initiative, 4Runners. I think everyone should get a copy of this book and have a read if you want to understand some of the history of Jamaica's track and field and where Jamaica's female sprinting is coming from. Thanks very much for joining us, Desmond. We take a break. We'll be back with more.
Thank you.
On the Sports Max Zone. You'll be seeing Mariah Ramarak after the break.